Hi, and welcome back to another lesson. Let me quickly walk you through this simple chord progression I've just played and point out the different chords and tricks I've used along the way. This little progression is written in the key of, well, basically what's called jokingly the white key. It makes it a little bit easier for beginners to follow along. And this would be an A minor key. And the first chord is then, unsurprisingly, A minor. Now, to be more precise, this isn't a simple A minor, but an A minor 11. And it is a particular voicing of A minor 11, meaning that the notes are arranged in a particular pattern which sounds pleasing. So, as you can see, I'm playing A, E, and B with my left hand. I'm holding down the C and the D with my thumb in the right hand, then a G and a B. Now, when I play this chord, I first hit the uppermost note, which is the melody. Then I hit the bass, and then I bring in all of the other notes in between. So this highlights the melody, the bass, and the accompaniment. And it's an interesting way to play a chord, instead of just hitting all of the notes simultaneously. I do so with the next chord as well, which is a D minor 9. So here I'm playing a D, A, and C with my left hand, E, F, A, and C with the right hand. The next chord is back to an A minor. The same voicing and the same sort of way of playing. You play the melody, land on the uppermost note, the bass, and then roll in the notes in between. Another way which you can play this, hit this note, is do this sort of flurry thing, when you lead into the note chromatically. And it's this kind of a nice embellishment. You can do this with any note that you want to hit. So for example, so this is kind of a general trick that you can use on any chord. Don't use it too much because it will sound repetitive. After the second A minor, I play another D minor. A slightly different voicing. This would be a D minor 11, but it's very similar to the D minor 9 I played previously. The only thing that's changed is now I'm holding down a G instead of an A here in the middle. Now I play a transition chord, which you do not have to play. This progression will sound fine without it. It's basically a G dominant 7 with a flat 9 that leads into a C major 7. Or more accurately, this would be a C major 7 sus2, but you can add in the third here if you hit both the D and the E with your thumb. The next chord is again a transition chord that leads into a B flat major. So for the transition chord, I'm playing a B dominant 7 sus2. And the idea is that I'm executing a chromatic motion. Previously I've played this C major 7 sus2, and now I've almost pretty much, not entirely, but I've moved everything down by either 1 or 2 semitones. So you can see this bass note of C went down to a B, the G went down to a an F flat, F sharp. B went down a full tone to an A, and in the right hand, the D and G went down a semitone, and the B went down a full tone. And this leads into this B flat. Yeah, you can either play a B flat major 7 sus2, or you can again add the third here and just play a B flat major 9. So you're playing a B flat, F, B flat in the left hand, C, possibly D with the thumb in the right hand, F, A, and C. The next chord can be thought of in different ways. I like to think of it as an E dominant 7, or a variation on an E dominant 7. This software that I'm using is calling it an F minor 6/9, which on the bass of D, which is fine as well. But if I did add this bass of E, it would show you that I'm playing an altered E dominant 7. Altered meaning that the 5th degree, which is a B, is raised by a semitone. And then the next chord is again back to the A minor. And then I have a little run where I go on, well, it can be different notes, but the idea is I'm basically running down on the entire wide scale, or the A minor, and I'm only avoiding this F here. So you can actually play any note when you hold down the sustain pedal. I'm just messing around here, just to show you that there's nothing theoretically deep behind this, as long as you execute it fluidly enough. Now, having gone through the chord progression itself, I'd like to point out some, insights and ideas into the choices of chords and why the different chords lead into each other. The first thing I'd like to point out is that some of the chords in this progression are passing chords. You could omit them without really harming the progression itself. It would just make it sound a little bit less interesting. So I'm referring specifically to this G dominant 7th chord that I played in the middle, and to this B dominant 7 sus2 chord. So both of them serve to lead into the next chord, and they change fairly rapidly. And even this E dominant 7 altered chord is kind of a little bit of a passing chord. If I were to omit them, you can have a listen to the progression. So it still works. It's a little bit less interesting, but it still serves the job. Two of these chords, the G dominant 7 and this E dominant 7, are what would be colloquially called a 5-1 progression. So basically when you're landing in a particular chord, let's say in A minor, you can play the dominant 7th chord that is a perfect fourth below it, just before it. Perfect fourth is a 5 semitone, so you take the root of the chord, you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this means that you play an E dominant 7 leading into the A minor. Similarly, if you want to hit a C major 7, so the bass note here is the C of the C major 7 chord, you go down a perfect fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you play a G dominant 7 just before the C major 7. The third passing chord, which is this B dominant 7th chord, is really what I'd call maybe, this is more of a chromatic motion. So, you know, you hit a chord and you want to get to some other chord, you want to get here. So you can precede it by a chord that is in some way a semitone above it. So I'm going from a B to a B flat. The specific choice of notes, the voicing of the chord, is chosen to accentuate the chromatic motion. So you're playing a C major 7 here, and then you're just really ever so slightly nudge the notes down, a semitone or maybe a whole tone, depending on how it sounds, and then hit the target. So this was kind of a natural position to apply chromatic motion. That's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you've learned something interesting, and I'll see you next time.